Okay, good morning. Hope you're staying warm. Listen, I am still recovering from the flu, so I probably will not be in on Wednesday. What I'm going to do is I put together a revised assignment, so it's something that you can work on in my absence on Wednesday. I'll describe that in just a minute. What I've asked you to read for this week, chapter 10, and I had that PowerPoint uploaded earlier this week, and then also chapter 13, which is talking about marketing strategy, scanning an external environment and marketing strategy. So I just have a subset of slides today that I'd like you to review, which will help you as you begin to work on this next assignment that I'm asking you to complete. This is an individual assignment. I'll get into more detail next week on why I'm doing it this way. But first, you'll note this particular figure should look somewhat familiar. This is the figure that you used week before last. We talked about what is your project assignment, where I asked teams to use one of these boxes, right, to identify opportunities that they might recommend that the company that you're looking at pursue. Now, you can use what you prepared with your team members as a starting point for this next assignment, or if you find that what you put together isn't helpful, you can just start anew with a fresh slate, okay? But again, I have this here just so that you can refer back to the assignment, the information that you and your team put together for what is this project, to use that for this next assignment, okay? Now for this next assignment, what I want you to do is going to involve scanning the environment. Again, this is from chapter 13. Figure 13.2 provides examples of things that we look at when we are scanning an external environment. But as your text points out, it's important for us to understand what's going on externally because businesses, marketers, we don't operate in a vacuum, right? So things that happen in our external environment are likely to have an impact on our service offering, right? How we price it, how we might promote it, where we distribute it, and the physical evidence or the actual setting, our customers, participants, and including employees, and our process of service assembly. All of these factors that marketers control because you decide what they're going to be are impacted by and may have an impact on these external environmental factors, okay? So what I'd like you to do, I want you to select, so there are 4 factors that your text identifies, 4 external environmental factors: economic and competitive, ethical and legal, social, cultural, and demographic, and technology. So note that each of these, so this is one factor, economic and competitive. Ethical and legal is another factor. Social, cultural, and demographic is one factor, and technology is one factor. I'd like you to select at least 2 of these 4 external factors. And what I'd like you to do is conduct research. You can either go online to the library, or you can just go online and use online resources. I ask that you not use Wikipedia as your source or sources. I'd like you to find at least 2 resources that identify trends that are occurring among 2 of these external factors that you've selected, okay? So, for example, if you pick social, cultural, and demographic, and might examine, I'm just going to make something up that may or may not apply to the projects you're working on. So one of the things that we're seeing right now in terms of social, cultural, demographic under this category of external factors, increased concerns with privacy. And what's interesting, that is certainly a rising shift, and in light of some of the data breaches that we've had with Target, Snapchat, they're certainly understandable. But it's interesting as we see that trend and pattern, we also see people willingly sharing via social media and other tools much more information about themselves online, right? So from a service provider perspective, one question is this concern with privacy along with people's willingness to share more information an opportunity or a threat for a provider? And we'll later look at the question of, so what are the implications? What does this mean? What can we do with it? What I'd like you to focus on for this particular assignment is identifying what that particular trend or trends, what the trend is or what trends are for the particular factor you look at. Technology, we're seeing increasingly the use of mobile devices. We're basically carrying computers in our hands and in our pockets, right? Smartphones are mini computers. and that has allowed us to do far more things, whether it's paying, whether it's searching for information, than we may have done in the past, right? So the question is, what are those trends with regard to technology? One is increasing use of mobile. But what does that mean? I mean, how does that affect the company that you've chosen to look at for your team project? Okay? So what I want you to do again is identify two broad categories of external factors. And then I want you to do some research and find out, so what's happening with those external factors? What trends are taking shape and unfolding? And then briefly discuss how those trends are likely to affect your company, the company for your team project, okay? So I'd like you to draft a 2-page paper that you should bring to class with you on Monday of week 9, okay? Make sure to include your short citations in the paper too, because that'll be something I'll look at when we finish with these drafts. But again, I want you to bring a hard copy of the paper to class, and we will be discussing this in class on Monday, okay? So let me just review again. I want to give you an opportunity to practice scanning the environment. There are 4 external environmental factors that your text has identified that it's important that we understand as marketers what these trends may be. So I'm going to ask you to select the category of 4 external environmental factors, select 2 of those, and find 2 resources that discuss recent trends with regard to the category of factors you've selected, okay? And then draft a 2-page paper describing the trends that you've selected and how these trends are likely to affect the company that you and your team have selected for your team project. Again, this is an individual assignment. The papers should be individual, okay? It should not be, what you find and what you describe may be very different from what your peers describe. Please do not, if you select the same trends as your team members do, your discussion of those trends should be different, okay? If they're not, that's not an individual paper, okay? And again, bring a hard copy to class on Monday. I will be checking email on Wednesday, but depending on how I feel, it might only be once or twice that day, okay? So feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. This will be something that will be due on Monday. We will not be submitting this draft via the assignment link. I want you to bring a hard copy to class, okay? Stay warm, and I will see you next week.